Hello, everyone. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. It is a happy Friday here in the United States on the East Coast at this moment, and it's a happy Saturday somewhere else. We're just thrilled to have our global audience with us while we explore really interesting topics here on the show, The Listening Mentor. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. I am the Listening Mentor. I help people listen at an elevated level, listening without judgment, listening without interruption, listening without providing solutions, and listening without stealing the stage. Every week, I have the honor and privilege of sharing this platform with someone who is incredible in the work that she's doing on Harley Street and all over the world to help people bust their stress. Let's welcome the Harley Street stress expert, Caroline HEWARD. Hello.
Hello.
Nice to see you today. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you too. And the topic is going to be very fun, isn't it? Festivities.
Yes, it is. And it's interesting, Caroline, after I came up with the title, I forgot, they don't celebrate Thanksgiving everywhere in the world. But it doesn't matter what the holiday is or what the event is. It's all about people coming together to celebrate, acknowledge something, and then all heck breaks loose and people just start going down different paths. People actually come to an event charged up and telling themselves, all right, I'm just going to keep it under control. I'm going to keep it under control. She says this, he says that. And before you know it, flares are shooting and anger's coming out. Temperatures are heating up. If it's just in the room, it's in the body, wherever it is. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we get into that, you have been helping people all over the world. You are an expert in your field and you are extremely accomplished, very talented. Tell people how it is that you can help them bust their stress and take that first step to really enjoying their life in a completely different way.
I can. Thank you, Dr. JACALYN. I literally help people. Whatever you're complaining about will be your stress. Sometimes we say, oh, I'm not stressed. I'm okay, but I don't sleep very well. I wake up in the middle of the night. I've got severe physical low back pain, or my neck is really aching and paining, or I've got relationship stuff. So it's whatever that is that you're complaining about is the stress, how it's manifesting in you, either physically, emotionally, mentally, or behaviorally. So if you're not sure what is stressing you out, it's the thing that you are complaining about. And what I do is I help you with understanding where it's come from, where the initial root cause, because I work with root cause trauma, so that you can literally bust the root cause and release the emotions from the initial trauma so that you feel more relaxed and more peaceful, and the emotions from that initial trauma can release. It's a very, very simple process that I work with. I'm working with chakra psychology, and essentially I offer a free 30-minute telephone consultation to help you with one symptom. And then if you want more of what I do, then we can make an arrangement to work either online or on Zoom, Skype, by telephone, or if you're in London, coming to see me face to face. You can reach me on NoMoreStress. The details are on the screen at live.co.uk. Or indeed call me on +44 if you're international, 0 if you're local, 7523 120 189.
Thank you, Caroline. And again, welcome to everyone who's joining us for the first time. And also thank you to those who are returning. So our title today is The In-Laws Are Coming for Thanksgiving, Family Etiquette During the Holidays. So I don't know every place in the world, but many places in the world, we are in the holiday season. I think it started even before Halloween. I started hearing Christmas music playing. Like, okay, we are really rushing it this year. I also noticed we have a special day next Friday. It's called Black Friday, when the big retailers have all kinds of incredible sales. They've already started a week early because obviously retail sales are hurting, as well as people just fighting to find money for fuel and for heat in their homes. So there's a lot going on. And when people get together for an event, they're coming as they are with whatever it is that they've been dealing with or not dealing with. And sometimes we could eat too much. Sometimes we drink too much. Sometimes the television's on. We're watching a sporting event. We don't like how it's going. And then all of a sudden, somebody says something. So we're going to explore ways to keep this discord at a minimum. But first, and I'm going to defer to you, I think we should talk about what actually happens when you bring all of these personalities together for a family event, considering some people want to be there, some people don't want to be there, some people were dragged there, and yet they're there, but they have an agenda. Tell us more about this in your experience.
Well, families, I mean, what would you do without them? Families always trigger you. It doesn't matter who you are because they know you really, really well. You can't hide you from your family because your family knows you. And so there is this challenge that happens that families can press your buttons. They know your triggers. And it's almost like it's a game that we play. And there's an expression. You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. And we love our families because we know them so well and they know us so well. And at the same time, they know when we are stressed. They know that we're not coping with something very well. And if you've gained weight, for instance, they will be the first people to say, oh, gained a bit of weight there, you need to lose it. And it triggers the buttons because it's not the comfort place for you. And so it's important to recognize your family members know you and you also know them. So if you play the tit for tat, which is a very British cliche, that if somebody says something that upsets you, then you say something that upsets them because you know what their button is. It doesn't work. And it only leads to more disharmony in that family situation. So my invitation and recommendation is for you to set your intention of what you want to do, how you want to be, and how you feel that it would be good for you to show up and experience your holidays with your family. And you don't go into your family situation wanting a war zone, and you don't really want to have to fight your corner and justify and have these difficult conversations. And the more we consider thinking about those situations that are not good, the more we can create them literally by thinking about them. And so my invitation is for you to think about some nice outcomes that you'd like from your experience with the family over the holidays. Think about what would be comfortable and fun for you. And then on those lines, you will actually create more energy around positive things rather than the things that won't work.
Really good points as always. Thank you, Caroline. A question that I have is, it seems so simple to me. It seems so basic, but yet in reality, it doesn't always work. Why can't there be a safe zone? So in other words, what I mean by that is everyone gets together and makes a commitment, whether it's on the phone or just some type of agreement that, hey, let's just celebrate positive things. Let's compliment one another. Let's talk about joyous things. Let's give gratitude. And certain things are off the table. We're not going to be discussing them. But in some cases, it seems like certain family members are just so excited about this opportunity to let you know how much weight you gained, or to talk about how much money they know that you lost, or whatever it is the case may be. They just can't help themselves. Is it possible to have a safe zone where people make a commitment to agree not to talk about certain topics?
You're talking about family here. We don't do things like that, do we? If we've done some kind of personal involvement work, then you will be a little more considered. The rest of your family haven't done stuff. And so my invitation is for you to, it's always about 80% of what happens, 20% of what happens and 80% of how you respond and react to it. And so with that in mind, if it's 80% of how you react, if somebody presses a button and says, oh, you've gained lots of weight and, and you lost that money and, oh, you're not having a good time, are you? And almost relishing in it because it's a topical bit of conversation for the table, you can react one of two ways. You can go into a war zone with that family member, or you can be not in a reaction space and say, yeah, well, it was one of those things. And you can literally take out the burn, the sting, and not respond the way that they expect you to respond. Because if you know that topic might come up, you can then decide that you're not going to react in this negative way. And so then you're not fueling the fire, so to speak. So it is always about how we react. And in England, we have an expression, water off a duck's back. So somebody can say something that can be very triggering, and you can not react in a negative way so that then they don't get the energy from that negative reaction, and you keep everything in the status quo.
I love the whole idea of this, and the execution of it, I think is part of the challenge. And some people out there might have experienced this. I'm just throwing out something, but many times somebody will make a comment and the person will consider it, and then they'll give them a mean comment back. So if we stay on the weight thing, oh, you look like you put on a few pounds. Oh, wow, that's something coming from you, Tubby. People, they start going back and forth, and, they're kind of making fun of it, but it's not funny. Nobody's actually laughing. And you can see that people are really starting to get out of control. So I'm also wondering, what about when we think about etiquette, about seating people in certain places at the table so they're not next to one another? They can still throw the flares across the table, but maybe it's better to space them out.
My mum does that. And I think that she doesn't sort of say it. I'm sure that she says, well, you sit there and I'll sit here. And I'm sure that mums have this natural, presence of deciding who sits where, because they have an appreciation of a dynamic that may happen over the table. And when there is that an appreciation, then the person that's hosting tends to have that in mind. We'll sit the families together. We will, and it's really quite beautiful because that's preempting something that may happen and making sure that it's diffused before it does. And I find that, a seating plan, especially, we have a reasonable sized family, and, they don't all come round at the same time. There's enough around the table to make sure that we have to, look after everybody, that people, the children are with their parents, and, that the family is together. And at the same time, making sure that the ones that are in the kitchen have space to move, and, so it's not disturbing everybody. And it's all these things that the host usually has some kind of etiquette, of inkling of making sure that everything is okay.
Yeah, that's a great point, Caroline. I think we should also honor the host or hostess. These people are putting so much time and energy, and let's not forget money, into putting together an event, and then people have their own agendas and spoil the whole thing, not considering that the host or hostess has spent probably days putting together this meal and scraping together the money to put together something really nice. And it just takes one comment, one person to ruin the whole thing. What I like to do, and our family dinners are not the same as they used to be because we're all in different places. But what I have done in the past is gone around and asked everyone to give thanks out loud for something, and to give an affirmation or say something of gratitude. And I think that starts off the meal in a very positive way, because each person is coming from their heart, and then you can talk about those things.
That's lovely. That's a beautiful practice. And, I really commend you on suggesting it to the family. And, that does put everyone into the heart. That will take them out of their head and the agendas and what they want out of it, and, all the stuff that's going on, because we are our stuff. We come loaded with, sort of our bag of, stuff that we're carrying. And it's very difficult when you're in that family situation to not bring your stuff with you. So to start in that space of gratitude is beautiful. That I always feel that when you take yourself into the heart in whatever practice, through prayer, saying grace, or, sort of saying it's wonderful to be together and acknowledging that the families come together. And also I feel, because we've had a couple of family bereavements, to remember, people that are no longer there. Even though it can be a little upsetting, it's also, it brings the family, very much into their heart. And it brings the family into a space of, rather than coming with their own agendas, it brings them into a heart space, because then the focus is on the missing members of family, whether they're not well or they've passed over. So I actually feel that when we've had those kind of few comments of reminiscing and thoughts of, family members not being present and not being with us, it's actually brought us very, very much into our hearts.
I agree with you. I love the fact that you brought that up. I also want to touch on, when we think about etiquette, obviously here on this platform, we have a show called The Power of Etiquette and Manners, actually on Fridays today with Philip Sykes. Manners and etiquette is so much more than just the one topic we're discussing. The one topic we're discussing is really pivotal, because that can make or break a meal. At the same time, there's some other things I think that we should talk about for people to consider. And here's one. You're invited to the family meal and you have decided you are going to eat everything. Maybe you'll have seconds, thirds, maybe you'll ask for a doggy bag. And it's just like, hello, you are one person and there are 12 people there and you are out of control. Or you like to drink wine. You didn't bring any, but you start heavy-handedly pouring, glass after glass, not even considering other people or how your behavior is. So there's certain things like that. In addition, let's say you are the host or hostess. The television's blaring. People have hearing problems. They can't even hear one another. And maybe you've got the TV. So there's all different things that have to be taken into consideration. How do we sort of orchestrate all of this? I feel like we're like little puppets on strings and we have to figure out, who's going to do what. But in order to come together in a beautiful way and share an experience like this meal, this occasion, how do we manage all of these external things that can have an impact on this event?
Well, you've brought up all the family stuff that happens. That there is one that has an intention to get drunk because they can't stand being in the family situation. And there's always, one member that might be drinking more than the others. And then that leaves an uncomfortableness around the table. And you can't stop someone. As the host, you can manage by pouring the glasses of wine. You can manage the portions by maybe if you know that one particular person will have a better or very healthy appetite, is making sure that you plate, if you're plating the food up, more food on their plate. Certainly my mum does that. She makes sure that my brothers are fed really well because they're boys and they have big portions. And it's those kinds of, in the family situation, that the host will know who will drink more, who will drink less. And so the host is actually almost the pivotal person of managing that, and managing that everybody is okay. And so if the host is pouring the wine, or actually asking one of the other members of family to pour the wine, that means that it gets shared a little bit more equally, or things get passed around, so that everybody gets a chance to get the extra meat or the extra potato or vegetable. And so it's that, and this is the etiquette that you're referring to. Certainly we have things like sort of the different sauces, and we'll pass them around. Sometimes the children don't see, and so we make sure that they're passed around so everybody gets the homemade stuffing and the apple sauce, and did you remember this? So because there's a lot going on. As far as the TV is concerned, that's the big nuisance. That's the box in the corner that causes all the trouble. And so, when you're around the table, I actually feel that it's important to either have the TV on low or turned off, because you can't be watching the TV and be around the table in conversation. It's challenging in itself to do that. So the TV on low, and if you're going to have it on, and everybody around the table.
And these things that we're sharing today are really meant to support a fun and enjoyable get together, so that you're not thinking, well, I'm glad I don't have to see her again for another 3 months or 6 months or whatever the case is. All right, here's another area of importance, and we've discussed this here as well as on the Power of Etiquette and Manners. Certain topics that should never be brought up. Doesn't matter what your thoughts are, you never bring them up. What are they?
Well, there's a lot of political stuff going on at the moment. And if you support one political party, and some of your family support another political person, then that's the case for a war zone. You know what I mean? And so politics is always, a very hot topic. It's a hot potato in this country at the moment, and there is elections in the US as well. So politics is never good to discuss, because it's only going to create an uncomfortable war zone, because nobody's right and nobody's wrong. Everybody is right. No one's wrong, because you're right to what you believe. So definitely politics. And when you get into that arena, there's all sorts of things that come out. You can be laughing at some things rather than being in the principles of the politics, because that does create the war zone. The other thing that I would stay clear of in our current times is this need to be conforming or not conforming, of doing things that some people don't agree with and some people are quite comfortable with. And when you move into the conversations of conforming to things that are being required, then when some people aren't conforming, it makes it awkward and very difficult. And so it's important to be respectful of people's views, rather than stamping or trampling all over their beliefs or what they feel is right for them. Certainly, I know in the US there's some controversy about the anti-abortion laws that are being trampled all over. So then again, that's a hot topic at the moment that it would be good to steer clear from, because that is also one of those subjects that, it's very, very personal, and everybody will have their own views. So to be careful about other people's opinions, especially if they're very hot topics, to be mindful, because those kinds of topics can incite a war zone around the table.
Absolutely. And something I want to add to that is, we all know people who are very vocal about certain topics. But what we don't realize is some people don't say very much, but may feel strongly. They just don't let you know. And so don't assume that people feel the same way that you do, because I actually was at an event and somebody started talking about gun control. And I didn't say anything one way or another. The person had no idea how I felt, but the person assumed that I felt the same way that they did. And they just carried on for this whole, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes. And finally I said, I really am not comfortable with this subject. I don't want to talk about this subject. So I'd like to ask you to change the subject. And then they started asking me questions. And I said, I just explained I'm not comfortable with this. I'm going to get up and move now. And that's what I did, because that was my prerogative to do that. So case in point is we don't know how people feel, and people might have the good common sense not to share it. It's because it's not appropriate to be shared at that time. So show that person that respect.
I forgot about gun control, because that's another big topic, isn't it, at the moment? Yeah. And here we've got all sorts of topics that are going around, certainly in the political arena. And what is happening, the British have a very good sense of humour. And so when there is things that are really going wrong, we have a behavioural pattern of laughing, when things are just so farcical. And so there is an incredible amount of humor that is going around in the British culture to do with what's happening in the political arena, which is, it's good, that we're not getting so fixated and so entrenched in that panic and that fear of what next, because it would be, you would be living in a huge amount of anxiety. So the fact that we do have humor to diffuse the fact that it's crazy right now, it really is good. And I feel from that perspective, I'm probably very, very British, because I am laughing about some of the things that are happening, whereas I could be in a high level of anxiety or stress because of the validity of the fact that everything's so volatile right now.
I appreciate your candor and transparency. I mean, it's amazing how many hot topics there are, how many hot issues there are all across the world. I'd like to have us talk a little bit about when the conversation starts to go off the rails. We've all seen this before. Somebody will throw the napkin down. Well, that's it. I'm leaving. Come on, Chuck. We're out of here. I'm not going to put up with this. Should you cause a drama? What should you do if you're not happy with how the conversation's going?
Take a breath, go and take some space, go to the bathroom, or say, it's hot in here. I need to just take some fresh air. So for the smokers, I know that it's very topical to go and take a cigarette break. I don't smoke and never have done, so that's not something I do, but that's definitely a way to take a break, or visit the bathroom, or say, somebody's just dropped me a message and they've wished me happy Christmas, happy Thanksgiving, and say, I'm just going to just drop a quick message back because that they're quite old, and so finding a way to excuse yourself out of the situation, however graceful you can do it. And if you're feeling hot, saying, I'm feeling really full right now, I think I'm going to take a short walk around the block so that I can make room for my dessert. So it's these sorts of things that essentially, instead of going straight in and responding in that fiery space, to move yourself out of the situation by taking some time out, take a break, a walk, take a breath, rather than responding and reacting. Breathe so that you stop the emotion. So you transform the emotion, and you come from a place of a level of intelligence and being practical rather than from an emotional space.
Excellent tips. Thank you very much. So we've managed to make it through the dinner. And now we're really full, satiated, lying back on the couch, taking up a lot of space. How long do we stay? And yeah, and just as an aside, I should have said before that, when do we offer to help? Because we see people, they're in the kitchen helping, and other people just like, yeah, let me take this whole sofa to myself. What are your thoughts about that?
Helping out in the kitchen is always welcomed by the host, because they don't like to ask, because, you are their guests. And certainly when I go to my mum's for Christmas and we're both in the kitchen, it's like sort of we're on kitchen duty. And my mum takes a break when she needs to take a break, and then I carry on. And I feel that's my role, to make sure that those things are done. And I always feel just incredibly grateful when one of the other members of family, sort of washes up in between or says, I'll do that, or collects the dishes. It's not that we think about it, and it's just incredibly heartwarming when somebody does that, because it's then not left for you to do. And, to offer the help of saying, oh, let me collect the dishes, let me take those into the kitchen. While you're doing something else, while you're preparing the food. And so to offer is hugely rewarding for the hosts. And at the same time, that small amount of graceful offering takes a big weight from the host. So to offer, even if, sort of you don't really want to, but feel that it would make you more included, it puts you more as part of the preparations. And that's a way of being more cohesive within the family and playing your part, rather than being waited on hand and foot. You're actually playing your part of saying, hey, I'll help you wash up, I will dry up, I will, collect the glasses. So it's that space of being considerate of your hosts.
Excellent. And I think something that people fail to remember is that host or hostess has been working literally for days on their feet, serving. They're exhausted, and they probably haven't had really a chance to enjoy that much. So if you jump in, that really is a big help. Try not to break anything, though. I just add that. Breaking the china is never really well received.
And it is, but sort of sometimes they don't like to ask. And when one of my brothers decides to, sort of collect everything up off the table, I'm just feeling, oh, that's so good, thank you. And it's not because I'm wanting them to. It's because I'm grateful that they thought about it. They thought about, sort of taking a little bit off the plate of the people that have organised and being hosted everything. The other thing about staying is that I always feel that these kind of family gatherings, so for the British people, it's Christmas. That's our big celebration. Your Thanksgiving is equal to our Christmas. Is that children can become a real focus. And when we divert our attention, especially young children, I feel that it makes the occasion much more special. And if there are young children, it's almost like if there are any challenging conversations, that the children immediately diffuse those challenging conversations, because children aren't in their head. They're not thinking about one-upmanship or trying to get their dig in. They've not got no agenda. They're just there, to enjoy the family occasion. And I feel that the children become an extraordinary diffuser when things and people can get heated. And to fuss over the children and to have those conversations with the children gives you the absolute total way out of that difficult conversation that you've landed yourself up in.
Absolutely. And to that point, remember that the children are watching. They're watching what you're doing, watching what you're saying, and it's making an impression. So let's take the last 5 minutes of the show and let's put together a really nice comprehensive package for anybody who's out there and they are going to a family gathering. Next week is Thanksgiving. So wherever it is you're going, whatever it is you're doing, planning ahead to be a great guest. What does that look like, Caroline? If you had a special package, people could come and they could buy it to be the perfect guest on Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever the occasion is, what does that include?
Everything is frequency. Everything is what you're thinking about, you literally can create in your reality. And so if you are thinking, I'm going to have a bad time, oh, this topic is going to come up and I'm going to have a difficult time explaining this. If you are thinking about all the negative things that might happen, might go wrong, then you will create it. And I wanted to lead in with that so that when you change that, when you focus and you have an intention on having a really, really good experience, then you will start thinking about all the things that are positive, all the things that you want to experience. And if you go in with that intention of having a really wonderful family holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, when you go in with that intention and that vibration, you move out of the survival and the blame and the shame and the guilt game, and you come up into the heart, and then you move into a place of an extreme amount of gratitude and compassion. And so I would actually take your bottle of gratitude and compassion with you and your love. And when you have that bottle with you, remember, however you are being to someone else is literally giving that back to you. So if you are in that place in that fight and spite place and the blame space, that's giving that ungift to you. So give yourself the gift of gratitude, compassion, love, joy, and a heart place of utter happiness. Because if you walking in that graceful state of happiness and joy, your vibration will be high enough to shine, and that will lift other people into that space that you are with. So take your bottle of absolute gratitude, joy, compassion, and love. And when you have that intention, you will have the experience from that intention. Those are higher vibrations. And in that space of walking in your higher vibration, rather than your low vibration, you will then elicit changes with the responses from other members of your family to you. And when you are in a space of not reacting, so decide you are going to have your family occasion without reacting, without responding in this negative way. So responding positively with oodles of compliments and with oodles of happiness and joy about the fact that you've come together as a family. Your family is precious. And even though families can be challenging, your family is a very precious gift to you. Celebrate your family.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Caroline. Thank you so much for summing it up like that. That is just wonderful. Please follow Caroline on social media. You can follow her on Facebook. We have the link here. You can also follow her on LinkedIn. And you can also call her and book in for your free consultation. And why not? What are you waiting for? Start feeling better right away. Whether you're in London, wherever you are in the world, it doesn't matter. Caroline has the ability to help you. Caroline, we have covered so many incredible topics. It's hard to believe that we're coming to the end of 2022, and I'm super excited that you'll still be with me next year for 2023. You also have your own show, which is Talking Heads. Tell us a little bit about that and some of the topics that you cover there, please.
Yes. Well, Talking Heads, I feel very humbled to be doing Talking Heads because it's my own show every Tuesday at 5 p.m. GMT time. That's British time. And Talking Heads is looking at without the interview. So it's me sharing all the wonderful stuff about, how the mind and body connect. And so some of the topics that I've been sharing are things like life after divorce, bereavement, how to handle grief and loss, how to handle challenges within your own relationship, self-love, self-worth, and how to handle intimacy. And so there's all sorts of topics, some very juicy topics. We had a really juicy topic last week, which was on intimacy. And it's not always what you think it's going to be about, because I'm looking at it from the chakra psychology perspective, how the mind and body connect and what happens to the person physically, emotionally, mentally, behaviorally when there's an imbalance. And the imbalance is really what happens to us and how we respond in those different aspects of our lives. And so it's very, I always find that when I share this stuff, the feedback that I get is, that was so insightful. That was really amazing and interesting, because they are interesting aspects of what we probably don't think about. So check in on 5 o'clock on Tuesdays. And if you miss the live show, you can see it live, the live broadcast recorded on YouTube. So check into the YouTube channel under Talking Heads, under my name, Talking Heads 2022. All my shows will be there, and I welcome your feedback and your comments. And it's always my delight to share and help their transmissions. They're also healing journeys too.
Thank you, Caroline. I've learned so much from you, and I encourage everyone to follow you, to connect with you, to contact you. Please go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV and Radio. And again, look for the playlist, Caroline HEWARD, also Talking Heads 2022. You can find all of these shows there. Thank you again for inspiring us, for bringing hope, and for educating us, Caroline.
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN, for always inviting me. I feel that this is home. I really do. Friday evening is my home with you.
Well, I really love it. I really enjoy it. I learned so much. And the information that you're sharing is relevant to everyone. And it might not be the right time for someone. Someone might not be ready to accept, embrace, but it's information that is for anyone who is looking to tap into their heart, who is looking to feel better in their body, in their skin, in their mind, in their soul, in their spirit. So please, again, do reach out to Caroline, and we'll be back again next week.
We sure will. I look forward to it. Thank you so much, Dr. JACALYN. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now. Thank you. And thank you to each and every one of you. We really appreciate you being here, your loyalty. We have a special event that's coming up next week, and I can't say enough about this. Please get your pen and paper or your phone, put it on your calendar, November 22nd, 1 p.m. Eastern time, which is 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. We have an event here. If you follow us on Fridays, we've mentioned several times about the power of etiquette and manners. Philip Sykes, who is the principal and founder of the British School of Excellence, is hosting an event here in partnership with USA Global TV and Radio. The name of the event is Train the Trainer, and I'm going to show you the show graphic. It's called A Taste of Excellence, and it is a complimentary session. Wherever you are right now, are you watching on YouTube? That's where you can watch the show. Are you watching on Facebook? This is where you can watch the show. Are you watching on LinkedIn? That's where you can watch the show. And what's the purpose of this session? The purpose of this session is to get your mind into a mode of curiosity, to wonder, what would it be like to become an internationally accredited etiquette coach and create a business and life that you love? What does this mean? We've been talking today with Caroline about etiquette, manners, integrity, respect, listening skills, all of these things, they make such a difference. And when you start to embrace them into your life, you are going to see changes like you wouldn't believe. You are going to attract people into your world that you couldn't have attracted any other way. So why not take this information, these opportunities, and make a business of it? Bring it into your personal life and also make a business of it. Join us again next week on the 22nd for a taste of excellence with the British School of Excellence. You will see Philip Sykes. You will see many alumni from his Train the Trainer program. You will get to have an opportunity to ask questions. And the best part is you'll find out more about how you can take that next step in your life to become internationally accredited. Here's the information right here. Please do mark your calendars. I'll leave it up for just a moment. And again, you can watch it wherever you're watching right now. Please spread the word. All right, our next show is coming up, our last show for the week at our new time. It's presenting Pet Psychic Amina. So please do join us. We always have fabulous topics about coexistence, sustainability. Also, when is it okay to say goodbye to your pets? How do you communicate with your pets? When's a great time to adopt? What about spay and neutering? Join us right after this. Thank you again. Bye for now.